Now comes my favorite part, the one I've always felt the most comfortable with. I've never been a great artist or an illustrator, but I found that using a vector program like Adobe Illustrator helps to make my horrible sketches and makes them much more polished and much more of a realistic logo. I've always told my students you do not have to be a great artist to be a great graphic designer, and that is why software exists. I took screenshots of my sketches and brought them in as a simple JPEG. If I spent the time to do a more detailed final sketch, I could even start to trace over my sketches with the pen tool. I've done this before in my digital design masterclass, as you can see in this simple illustration, for example. In this case, our logo mark will most likely be more simple. I'm going to still continue to brainstorm during this time as I create a wide variety of symbols that are based around geometric shapes and the triangle. I will also keep in mind that the color the client wants to use somewhere is gold, but right now I'm just sticking to black and white. For this continued brainstorming process, I opened up a standard default 11 by 8.5 inch document horizontal and started off with a rough idea of a geometric shape and triangle. Of course, your document size at this point can be any size. From there, I can make a quick duplicate and make a modification to it and add something new. This is that brainstorming process of one idea leading to another, almost like stepping stones in a pond. You cannot hop to one stepping stone without being on the one before it. It is the best way I can describe this process. What I'm doing is taking some of those key concepts like the growth and the leaves, strength with geometric shapes, and trying to incorporate these in a lot of different ways. This is all about experimentation. You do not need to make so many varieties of shapes like I am. Some of these are just purely to find out what shape leads to another, that leads to another, and what ends up being that final symbol. Some of these may never see the light of day, but could have played a part in developing a further idea later on in the process. I also decided to take the letter M and see what shapes can form from it using strong solid line forms. I also wanted to take the U in the name and somehow combine it with the M to play on the first letter of the company, but also the intentional misspelling of the letter U. I am finding different spaces to combine these letter forms, almost like working with a puzzle. Once again, there's no wrong combination of objects. Never talk yourself out of a creative exploration with a shape, letter, or symbol. Sometimes we like to critique ourselves and be negative before we're finished, but now's not the time to do that. Let things just come out like creating a painting. This whole process took around 45 minutes. I would not spend a whole lot more time than that. You could possibly spend all day just coming up with different varieties, but sometimes the best ideas come to you first. Or you could have already sketched out a great shape and you simply trace over in Illustrator and finalize. So this whole process could be shorter for you depending on the logo. But each logo design concept process is unique. This one happened to involve geometric shapes, but figuring out what combinations of shapes to use was why this one took a little bit more time to figure out. And remember, there's always the possibility of unused concepts, shapes, and symbols to be repurposed for other projects down the road. Something I always like to remember as I work through this process. Nothing ever goes unused, and nothing is ever a waste of time. Now that we have some basic shapes to choose from, let's open up a new document in Adobe Illustrator and work on finalizing our symbol and typography.